Welcome to the JRPG Canon, the ongoing project to document the first slice of a JRPG, talk about why it works and what's fun about these games that we like so much. If you'd like a better intro as to the purpose and idea behind the series, check out the first 2 episodes on Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, and then come back to this one. I'm Sam Allman, and this week is another one of our commissioned episodes, commissioned by friend of the show, Cerebral Wind, and CW has asked us to play Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. I'm joined this week by the new co-host of RPG Book Club, Trish.
Hi there. It's my first time doing one of these, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. This will probably not be your last one because the way that it works is I try to find guests for the show. And if Saturday night rolls around and I don't have a guest handy, I just say, hey, Bernard, hey, Trish, you're up. And there it goes.
Well, that works.
So, Trish, I already know the answer because of other podcast dealings, but what is your history with the Mario and Luigi games or Mario RPGs in general?
Well, I grew up on a certain other series of Mario RPGs, but I did play Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga as well. Never owned it, but still played it somehow. Let's just chalk that up to sorcery or something. Mm-hmm. But I did play through... I've beaten the first one a number of times, Superstar Saga, which we're here to talk about today. I've played a couple of the other ones here and there, including Bowser's Inside Story, but never completed any of the others. I think that they're neat. There are things I like about them. They're definitely not like my cup of tea, but I still respect them for what they are. And I try not to hold Paper Jam against them. Yeah.
I never played any of them before. This one.
Oh, okay.
And by this one, I, of course, am including Bowser's Inside Story that I played through the opening slice and was going to do a solo episode on a couple of months ago. But then I was like, yeah, all of the interesting stuff I have to talk about Mario and Luigi in general. I'm going to be talking about Super Mario RPG and Paper Mario games I haven't covered. And so doing Bowser's Inside Story, that would add another layer of like, oh, this is the things they changed from Superstar Saga that we haven't covered, which are things that they changed from Paper Mario that we haven't covered, which are things that we've changed from Super Mario RPG, which we haven't covered. So I double checked with CW and they said that picking Superstar Saga is fine. Bowser's Inside Story is just their favorite. But my very first RPG of all time was Paper Mario. Funny side story, my second RPG was Legend of Dragoon. So then when my third RPG was Shining Force, I knew 100% that when you get a critical hit, you attack twice in Shining Force. But I thought it wasn't a critical hit. It was me timing the button correctly because of the other 2 RPGs I had played so far had button timings.
Oh, that's amazing.
That doesn't help that the one immediately after Legend of Dragoon was Final Fantasy VIII, which has button timings on your attacks for critical hits. So I have a very warped sense of what RPG should be because of this series.
That's amazing. That's funny. I've played Shining Force, but it's literally been so long, I don't remember. I remember the various mechanical parts of it, and the story and characters are just completely gone from my game. Aside from remembering at some point later on, they gave you a underleveled character that I was told if I kept them alive, they'd be worth something, and then they died immediately because, of course, they did.
Of course, they did. Yeah, I love Shining Force. I actually am hoping that Shining Force wins the best of the rest of the best of the rest that we're doing at the end of this year, where all of the losers from everything are up for a vote again, except for Shin Megami Tensei 4, because we're not going to do another 20 episode season. that was a lot, but yeah.
I mean, I would love to play through it again. That would give me a good excuse.
I would also love to play through it, but we'll do that on a long cast or something and not try to do it as a main series. But, yeah. Especially when it's like, okay, we might be playing Beyond Oasis for 2 episodes or Shin Megami Tensei 4 for 20 episodes.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, so I've always loved the Mario RPGs of it all, but I just, for some reason, was never interested in Superstar Saga. I think I played through like a demo of it or something, like at a Kmart or something like that. It was just like, that's okay. And that was it. And it just always seemed to be like happening in the background, and that was it. But I've gotten really into the art of localization, and this game has one of the best localizations of all time. And
it's very good.
And so I've been I was reading Legends of Localization, the website, and they showed the rappers from this game who rap, and their stuff rhymes, and they're making jokes and references and stuff like that. And they showed the rappers in Japanese and the rappers in English, and they're like not a direct translation, but they both are like they both like work for American rap and for Japanese rap. Like it's masterfully done. It completely conveys the exact thing that they were going for, recontextualized in a brand new locale. It was very localized, and I was like, yeah, I should probably get around to playing these. And so when CW tossed it up, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm excited to do it. And I was not let down. Spoilers for the end of this episode where I talk about all the shit that I liked. But
honestly, yeah, that sounds amazing. I do love that kind of localization tidbit of being able to so perfectly snag onto something in the culture you're localizing to carry across a concept that could so easily get lost in a really bad translation.
This is a complete tangent, but a recent example that ruled is in one of the Witcher 3 DLCs. I don't remember which one because I'm not there yet, but there's a quest that relies on wordplay to like, oh, the thing that you need to do is like something all relates to dirt or earth or something. I don't remember, but it's very
it's a language based.
It is very language based. And so in the Japanese version, it's a rare language localization in the other way. The Witcher 3 Japanese localization, Japanese people say is one of the best localizations that they've played in a very long time, which is nuts because that game is gigantic. But in that DLC, they because the language based thing was like the middle parts of words all had something to do with each other, and so the Japanese one, it's the kanji, and so it's like I was
gonna say that had to be the one they picked.
Yeah, so it'd be like, all of the kanji will have like this radical in it, or something like that. There's also a write up about it on Legends of Localization. Just go read it. But localization quirks like that are my absolute favorite thing, and this game is really good at it. So let's listen to some Yoko Shimomura music, and then we'll talk about the history of this game. So Superstar Saga is the first game in the Mario and Luigi series, but also the third Mario RPG game if you lump them all together, which I basically do, even though Superstar Saga and Paper Mario were completely separate spiritual successors to Legend of the Seven Stars. Because of a lot of reasons, they kind of are the same overarching series, which we'll get to in just a second. So The Mario and Luigi series is developed by Alpha Dream, who is made up of staff members who, after making Legend of the Seven Stars, left Square and Nintendo to form their own company. And even before they started making spiritual successors to Mario RPG, you could tell that they were the people who had made Mario RPG. Their first game was an RPG for the Game Boy Color called Koto Battle Tengai no Moribito, which I had never heard of until writing these notes. But it's a Pokemon-like RPG about fighting with magical cards based on the Japanese spiritual practice of Kotodama, and it honestly looks pretty amazing. I don't think there's an English translation, but I would love to stumble through it. Their biggest and most famous pre-Mario and Luigi game is Tomato Adventure, a game that has incredibly similar vibes to Mario and Luigi. Tomato Adventure was originally called Gimmick Land and was set to be released on the Game Boy Color until it was reworked for the GBA. The Game Boy Color version actually leaked in the Giga Leak recently, so if you want to play both versions of it, you totally can. Someone has English translated the leaked version of the Game Boy Color Tomatoland, which is cool.
That is amazing. And I did look up I dug into this as well and looked up some screenshots of it. And I had to say, like, oh yeah, I can see the character design similarities. Mm-hmm. This is absolutely the same people who would then go on to make Mario and Luigi.
Absolutely. So Tomatoland stars a rabbit boy named Demille who lives in the Ketchup Kingdom and is based around using toys as skills in a super humorous RPG. Nintendo was super pleased with the game, even though it sort of tanked commercially, and they gave Alpha Dream the keys to the Mario Kingdom, and thus Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga was born. The game was directed by Yoshihiko Maekawa, who was the director of Super Mario RPG and the battle designer of Parasite Eve and the field planner of Final Fantasy VI. The scenario was written by Hiroyuki Kubota, who mostly just makes Mario and Luigi games. And the battle design was done by Jun Iwasaki, who prior to this had done the Hamtaro GBA games, which unironically slap. They're really fucking good.
I've heard that.
Everyone else, their credits are, I've worked at Alpha Dream for 15 plus years, so I made all the Super Mario and Luigi games, and that's about it. But the localization, however, was done by Nathan Bildorf and William Trinan. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but you might recognize them because they're now the heads of Nintendo Treehouse, and they've basically localized every Nintendo game since Paper Mario. They're super prolific. Like I was going on the Moby games for like all the Alpha Dream people, and there were like 7 games listed, and it was the 7 Mario and Luigi games for like every single person. And then I get down to Localizer, and they had over 257 games under their belt, and it's just nuts. They're super prolific and really good at everything they do. The Nintendo localizations are always top notch.
Absolutely.
It's also worth noting, I don't really have a good segue to this topic, but Superstar Saga is the only new Mario game on the Game Boy Advance that could be considered anywhere close to a mainline game. And even then, it's an RPG spinoff. So on the Game Boy Advance, Mario had remakes of Super Mario Brothers 1, 2, 3, World, and Yoshi's Island. Had remakes of Dr. Mario. Then it had a Mario Party, a Mario Golf, a Mario Tennis, a Mario Kart, and Mario vs. Donkey Kong, which is a brand new game, but is in the Donkey Kong series. It's not in the Mario series. It plays like the arcade cabinet Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
So, to my knowledge, the Game Boy Advance is the only Nintendo console without a mainline Mario released on it, which I might be wrong, but y'all can fact check me in the comments.
That is so wild. I, as far as I'm aware, I think you're correct, and I've never considered that before. That is so strange, especially because I grew up with the GBA for such a large part of my life. Mm-hmm. And looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, it was mostly other franchises that were kind of filling in the gap there. I mean, you brought up the remakes. I will say I'm as someone who is a big Mario fan, mm-hmm. it is hard to find a tendril of the Mario franchise octopus that I am not at least a little fond of. and when it comes to the 2D platformers, as kind of a platformer snob, I just want to say best 2D Mario platformer is and will always be Super Mario Brothers 3, and the remake on the Game Boy Advanced is exceptional.
Mm-hmm. Same with Super Mario Brothers 2. It's like the best version of both of those games happen to be the Game Boy Advance remakes.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will amend that slightly. The Wii U had a port of the remake on the Game Boy Advanced. That version, I would say, is kind of the best version, simply because
the e-reader levels unlocked, right?
It had the e-reader levels unlocked, and a lot of those were never even allowed. They were never released in America, so that was the first time you could really get them legally.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the Wii U reissue of the Game Boy Advance remake using the Super Nintendo graphics for the Nintendo game of Super Mario Brothers 3. That's the best Mario game.
Listen, Super Mario World fans love to be like, oh, that's the best one. And I'm sorry, it's just not true. You can't wear a hammer suit and throw hammers. It's not the best one.
And like, I love Super Mario World. It's great and everything, but there's just something delightful about the fact that every level in Super Mario Brothers 3 is like 2 screens long. You just... You just get pure bite-sized Mario goodness. No level stays its welcome too long, and there are plenty of Super Mario World levels that hang out for too long.
And the entire final world is just... I don't know if I've ever seen a Mario game, even the 3D ones, really top having a final world as good as the Dark World in Super Mario Bros. 3. It's just so perfect. Mm-hmm. The challenge especially is just... it's crunchy.
Oh yeah,
but we are super off topic.
Yeah, we are. So the reason that I lump the Paper Mario games and Mario and Luigi games together as one series, even though they are definitely developed by 2 separate companies that founded themselves after Super Mario RPG, is so Super Mario RPG had the director of Mario and Luigi and the music of Mario and Luigi, but Paper Mario was considered Super Mario RPG 2 as its working title. So because Paper Mario is Super Mario RPG 2 and the director of the first one is the creator of this one, they're all the same shit. It has to be in my head. It doesn't. So the truth of the matter is none of the Paper Mario games are canon to each other, so much less the Mario and Luigi games being canon to themselves or the Paper Mario series. It's kind of just like it is with every other Mario game, and this is a new adventure starring Mario. And
Sam, you poked a bear. I'm sorry. First of all, there is continuity between, at the very least, Paper Mario and Thousand Year Door. There is direct continuity there. And there are hints of continuity in some of the later Paper Marios. As someone who was very into Paper Mario and thought Superstar Saga was good, I've never considered them all one continuous thing because honestly, let's be honest here. I spent too much of my childhood infuriated that they kept releasing new Mario and Luigi games, and the Paper Mario franchise, meanwhile, swerved into a ditch and the car caught on fire.
It's very true. But my point was not necessarily about Thousand Year Door. It was the fact that every Goomba is just a Goomba and every Toad is just a Toad after Thousand Year Door, which is definitely not how it was prior. And it's just like,
it's definitely not. No.
Yeah. The way that everything operates is no longer looks like Paper Mario 1, and none of it looks like Super Mario RPG. However, they all have HP. They all have flower points. they all have pressing the A button when you jump on a bad guy and you do some extra damage. So it's very, very close to the same thing. I will admit that it is probably closer to Dragon Quest and Dragon Quest Monsters than it is Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 3. But yeah, it's they're the same thing in my head because of the confusing lineage that is both of them.
That I can accept that makes sense. I still don't agree, but I understand what you mean.
Yes. Also, they them being completely separate companies, Intelligent Systems and Alpha Dream. We never name dropped the other people. It's Intelligent Systems, the Fire Emblem people. But even though were completely separate companies that were spawned from the apparent wreckage that was Super Mario RPG, in Iwata Asks, they interviewed the people for this game, and they listed Paper Mario as one of their biggest inspirations. So it definitely,
I can see that.
Paper Mario came first. Mario and Luigi came second. They're all Mario RPGs.
That's true.
But beyond these facts, the creation of this game isn't really well documented. That Iwata Asks that I mentioned was actually about Bowser's Inside Story and Dream Team, and just had that one little nugget that I could pull out of for my notes. So for the original, there's not a whole lot of like anecdotes about the creation or anything like that. So let's just listen to some more Yoko music, and then we'll talk about the game. So when you start a new game, you see Peach's castle, where the ambassador from the Bean Bean Kingdom arrives to give Peach a present. But it's a trick. The present releases a gas, and it steals Peach's voice. The ambassador introduces themselves as Cackletta, and they flee. And so Toad leaves the castle to go and find Mario, so Mario can save the day. Here, 30 seconds into the game, I already am floored about how beautiful this game is. It is the perfection of the Game Boy Advance aesthetic, which is slightly different than the Super NES aesthetic, even though there are a lot of Super NES ports. But it looks like a Game Boy Advance game, and it looks like one of the best versions of that, and it's delicious to look at. Agreed.
It's very, like, the colors pop. It's very brightly colored, not pastel necessarily, but like very, what's the good best? If the closest thing in a lot of the different stylization aspects of this game, the thing they come back to for me is is not quite a Looney Tune, but like that kind of old slapstick cartoon kind of vibe. And the bright colors are 100% part of that.
Yeah, like when I think of Game Boy Advance games, I think of, and like try to picture what they look like in my head. I think of games that ended up looking like Golden Sun, or games that ended up looking like Minish Cap and Mario and Luigi. Like those are the two flavors. If you have the like pre-rendered looking stuff, or you have the super stylized Saturday morning cartoon look, and this game looks really, really good.
Now I'm really curious what end of that scale Battle Network falls into.
So Battle Network 1 is the Minish Cap end. Battle Network, I think
2 through 6.
I think it was in 3 is when they zoomed the camera out a little, so all of the sprites were a little smaller, and it ended up looking a lot closer to Golden Sun. But that's neither here nor there. Though I am probably going to redo an episode on Battle Network because it's fantastic.
Oh, I would love that so much.
Yeah, if you go to our website, you can find the article version of the JRPG Canon where I did a Battle Network episode, but I'm slowly trying to remake all of those as podcasts.
Okay, I call dibs on being on that episode then.
Hell yeah.
Regardless, Mario is found.
Yeah. So Toad finds Mario in his house, and the game lets you control Toad while you're looking around the room for some reason. It doesn't make sense. I actually thought like my Steam Deck had messed up because I'm playing this game legitimately on my Steam Deck, and so I thought like the emulator had paused or something because the cutscene just stops. But then no, turns out you can play as Toad for a second. So you walk around and you find Mario in the shower, and you tell him that Peach is in trouble at the castle. So Mario speeds off and brings Luigi with him. Luigi didn't want to go, but when Mario runs off, he accidentally grabs Luigi and takes him with him. So when you get to the castle, Bowser's there, like complaining at Peach. Luigi trips and bumps into Bowser, which pisses Bowser off and makes Mario and Bowser have a tutorial battle together. Because every Mario RPG has to start with Mario and Bowser having a tutorial battle together, and then Bowser ends up not being the main bad guy of the game. So already in this game, again, we're at our first taste of combat. The game has been gently and also not so gently ribbing Luigi, and that never stops. It doesn't ever. I don't think anyone except for Toad has called Luigi by his name, and the entire thing that we played today is just Green Mario, which is hilarious.
It is. It's funny. I feel like if I'm being honest, there is a part of me that had a slight grudge against this game, and I feel like it's not fair. But this is like, I feel like right when that started happening, it was like this and a little bit also Luigi's Mansion was around the same time frame when Luigi started becoming just a pure butt of the joke character and nothing else.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
It's very funny, but I also enjoyed Luigi being like in any way, shape, or form treated with any amount of respect. So that made me a little sad.
Hey, we're past the year of Luigi now, and everybody loves Luigi again. So it was dark ages for about 10, 12 years.
My boy, my poor sweet boy.
Poor baby. So the battle system is basically the same one from Mario RPG, where you have HP and flower points. They're bros points in this game, but they're same deal. You have really small numbers. You can choose to attack or use a special move. There isn't a hammer or versus boots. It's just jumping in this game. But all of the other Mario RPG staples of like timing your attacks to do extra damage or to defend are present here.
You do actually get the hammers later. The hammers do eventually become a factor. They're just later.
Dope. So yeah, it's the same basic battle system as all the other Mario RPGs. What's different is in this one, you control each bro with a different button. So Luigi will jump and defend with B, and Mario will jump and defend with A. So the system becomes a series of like timing or rhythm challenges to defend from the bosses and everything. And that is the reason why Maddie doesn't like this game, is because it makes all the battles take a really long time, and I can see that, but it's also fun to have to do all the rhythm and timing. So
I think it's definitely engaging. I think it sacrifices some accessibility because of that, but I think it is very neat. I will say, since you haven't played it, without spoiling it all, the final boss thing of this game is you get to a point of, it's a multi-stage boss, and you reach a point where you are thrown at a gauntlet of attacks with 1 HP each.
Oh no.
And before you're allowed to get a turn. And so you have to survive the entire gauntlet in order to be able to do anything.
Yeah, that sounds less fun.
It's a cool concept, and I think it's interesting. It's also really hard if you're bad at that part of the game.
Yeah, because everywhere else it's like, oh, you can play optimally by doing all of your timings, or you can just take the hits and buy a lot of things and treat it like an RPG. But you can't necessarily do that if you only have 1 HP and you don't get a turn first. But anywho, so after the fight with Bowser, we see what's happened to Peach. It's not that her voice was stolen, but rather her text boxes, the characters have been replaced with bombs. So every time she talks, the letters fall out of her text box and explode on the ground in front of her, which is so good. Like it's silly and bonkers. And like this game is a comedy, and
It is.
they are trying to make you laugh the whole time. One of the marketing campaigns when it came out was a competition to send in your best knock knock joke, and the winner got a Game Boy Advance and a copy of the game. So it's definitely joke forward. And
yes,
and doing this particular joke is very Dragon Ball, not Dragon Ball Z, but Dragon Ball.
Original Dragon Ball, 100%.
Like
it's Krillin doesn't have a nose.
Krillin doesn't have a nose sort of joke. It is exactly where I was going with it. For the uninitiated,
we share a brainwave.
for the uninitiated, Krillin aesthetically, like not in canon, just aesthetically, they draw him without a nose. He has a very simplified face. Is just how they draw him. And he has, up to this point, been like, that food smells good that you're cooking, Master Roshi. Like, he obviously can smell things, but he's facing this guy whose power is how bad he stinks. And Krillin's like, oh my God, I can't do it. And then Goku's like, but Krillin, you don't have a nose. And then suddenly, Krillin now canonically doesn't have a nose, and he can win the fight because they don't draw him with a nose. And it's stupid and it's hilarious, and it's the same sort of shit here where it's like, oh no, all of her letters are just bombs now, so we have to get out of the way every time she talks.
This joke is, I'm not gonna lie, this joke might be my favorite thing in this entire game. It's so good. It's so good.
I love it.
And then
so much.
Also, that promotional campaign you mentioned, I just have to add, because I'd found that out too, and the fact that this campaign was going on, and the joke judge was Kathy Griffin. Amazing.
So good.
I'm so sad that younger me didn't know, because I was a big stand-up comedy fan at the time and knew who she was.
You could have won. You could have won a Game Boy Advance P and got it handed to you by Kathy Griffin.
But yeah, so her all of Peach's words are bombs now.
Yeah. So Toadworth fills us in and says that the people that we're after are from the Bean Kingdom, and Bowser is like, well, Mario and Luigi, you should come with me. Or he just says Mario. He doesn't say Luigi. He asks Luigi if he's coming. Luigi is like, absolutely not. So he's like, come with me on my Koopa cruiser so we can save Peach, get her voice back, and then I can kidnap her, because I came here to kidnap her today, and I don't want to kidnap her if she's going to explode me every time she talks. So Mario thinks this is a good idea, and it lets us go and explore in exploration mode around the castle grounds. And the game worlds are like almost voxel based in a like isometric platformer sort of way. Like it's definitely a cross between an RPG and an isometric platformer, and they do a lot with that fact, but it's weird, but like in a good way, and it's very stylish, so you get used to it really quickly. But everything, because of the isometric nature of it all, everything feels a little like at kind of a weird angle, like you're staring down from like a 45-degree angle or something. Feels a little weird, but they make good use of this presentation style, as we'll get to when we get to the actual level in a little bit. So you can walk around this area, and you can do a few side quests to get some extra items for the toads in the area and stuff. And eventually you make your way up to Bowser's cruiser. On the way there, Toadworth stops you, and he gives you the suitcase, which is the diegetic explanation for the pause menu gaming abstraction, which is one of my favorite tropes in video games. I love that games sometimes decide they have to have a reason that your characters are in a video game and need menus. Like, it's not needed whatsoever. We had menus in video games way before anything else, but I still think it's hilarious that when you pause in Fallout, your character puts his arm up to the screen so you can see the tip there. And like, even though it pauses time, so like a zombie ghoul thing will be like charging at you about to kill you, and you pause your game and it just freezes time, and you pull up your wrist.
Let me just Stimpack. Med-X. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah. Another one that I love is the DS Pokemon games where you open up your items and it shows you your backpack, and it's like, these items are in this pocket. I'm like, these items are just words in a menu, but cool. I'm glad I know the exact part of my backpack where they put in stuff.
Well, they combine that also. I think it started with Gen 3, but Gen 4 also does that, where not only do they show you the different pockets things are in, but they have little visual icons, so they're no longer just complete abstractions of words. It's like, no, this is what your bicycle looks like. This is what the versus recorder looks like. You're like, sure, I guess. All right.
So yeah, after we get our suitcase, Bowser and Mario board the Koopa Cruiser, and they're about to head off. And Luigi is like, "Thanks, get out of here. I don't want to go with you." But as he turns around, he's swept up in the approaching army of Koopalings, and he's mistaken for one of them. So when he tries to leave, he's considered a deserter, and he gets scooped up by the ship anyways. Mario mentions nothing to Luigi. He just grabs Luigi, and Luigi joins the party, and we get to explore the ship. Along the way, as you explore the ship, you're tutorialized on a bunch of battle and exploration mechanics. You can jump on baddies to get advantage on them, like you've been able to in all the other Mario RPGs. You can interact with things in the environment. And most importantly, you can talk to a bunch of NPCs with some fantastically written dialogue. When we make it up to the deck of the ship, Cacletta is there, and they sick a mini boss with a weird helmet on us. And I know that he is must be a fan favorite because he's the main bad guy of Bowser's Inside Story. But
I don't know. I find him pretty awful.
But yeah, when I saw his name, I'm like, oh hey, this guy's important. But for now, he's just a mini boss with a weird helmet. So and
a weird way of speaking.
Yes. So we have our first boss fight, and it is also kind of a tutorial. Bowser pops in, just be like, hey, sometimes when he talks, he'll use red words or green words. I wonder what that could mean. Hint, hint, red brother and green brother. And so eventually he goes down. And after the fight, Mario and Luigi are tossed from the Koopa Cruiser. I didn't write down why. It doesn't really matter. Something happens and the Koopa Cruiser crashes, and Mario and Luigi land in the first level of the game, Stardust Fields. Right after they land, there's a small mini game where you have to play jump rope to prove that we're Mario by jumping, which was a common plot point in Super Mario RPG, which I'm glad there's some consistency here, that Mario doesn't carry an ID. He just jumps flat-footed 12 feet in the air, and like, oh, it's got to be Mario. Then we get to explore the level. It's a gorgeous little purple canyon-y area. And as we explore, we come across Bowser, who's stuck in a cannon, and we can't get him out. There's some bean motherfucker who won't let him out unless we pay him 100 Stardust Fields coins. So we have to go around and find enough monsters and do enough puzzles to get 100 coins. Along the way, we meet two Evil Knievel looking dudes who teach us about bros actions and bros attacks, which are special moves that when in battle, we can use them to use both brothers' turns, and they have complicated timings. I almost said additions because Legend of Dragoon, but that's basically what it is. You can do additions to use both brothers' turns to have special moves, and then outside of battle, you get special platforming abilities,
like jumping on the other's head.
Mm-hmm. So the two that we learn right now is a spin hover for covering long distances and a high jump for jumping high. After we gather all of our coins, we go back to free Bowser, and turns out this motherfucker tricked us. He never said that he would free Bowser if we paid him. He just said to bring him coins. He's a stinker. So we fight him in a boss fight, and we get to use all of the bros attacks that we just learned, and we kick butt. The mechanics have not gotten much harder yet. The hardest mechanic of the game so far is definitely the jump rope. The jump rope
100%. It sucks.
It sucks so bad. But both of our bosses have tossed out an attack that sometimes will go straight and sometimes will bounce and sometimes will bounce high. And you have to be able to read it to know if you should jump or not jump and which person to jump with. It's not super complicated yet, but it definitely, we know it can get there because of the jump rope. So after we kick his butt, we go to free Bowser, but all his nonstop caterwauling hasn't been appreciated by the Evil Knievel brothers. So they light the cannon and they shoot Bowser over into level 2, which we aren't covering today because Stardust Fields feels like a good vertical slice of how the game works. We got to explore a town. We got to talk to a bunch of fantastically written NPCs. We got to explore an area. We got to fight a bunch of bosses. This is basically Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. Obviously, I didn't even know there was a hammer in this game, so we have not covered everything, but that's not what the series is all about. So we're going to listen to a little bit more Yoko music, and then we will talk about what we liked about the game and all of that. This game is great, and it's mostly great because it's so far this game proves my main thesis of the JRPG canon is that JRPGs are fun, and walking around and doing fun little things and talking to little NPCs that are quirky and weird and going on adventures and moving around in a RPG space is inherently fun, even if you don't have the best story or the most epic blah blah blah. Just playing an RPG is fun, and this game is incredibly fun to just play. I accidentally played half of level 2 before I realized I was like, oh yeah, I was only supposed to do this first one. I just kept going because there was a smile on my face, and I love that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I do think this game really excels in just being fun and funny. Like I said, having kind of a slapstick cartoon kind of feeling to it. I mean, the fact that they take the whole Mario is silent thing from earlier Mario RPGs and extend that to Luigi, and instead of and have them communicate by basically doing weird babbling that sounds very silly. It's very much the rule that runs this game is what would be the funniest thing to happen right now. And it's very good at that. That's not and that's exact thing that makes it so good at that is also the reason why I lean a lot more towards Paper Mario personally than Mario and Luigi, and why I've beaten Superstar Saga but never afterwards felt like I really need to dig into the others as much. Because it's this is a expertly brewed drink that is not to my taste.
I mean, that.
It isn't not to my taste, but it's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
That said, because I know you like Legend of the Super Mario RPG. Would you like to? You've probably already heard of this a million times, but I think that'd be a fun thing to bring up as a thing a little bit later in the game that gets brought in. That is very much a thing that they did in Super Mario RPG, but taken to the logical extent, but then cut out of the game. Namely, that there were going to be cameos from a bunch of other characters from Nintendo things. There were supposed to be Samus, Link, I think Excitebike, and Captain Falcon. I'm not remembering them all correctly. I know a couple of them for sure. They were supposed to make cameos, and those all got cut, but all the dialogue and some of the sprites are still in the code.
That's awesome.
It's awesome, and I really wish they'd been able to do that, because that is just so fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I really like this game. I also don't think I'm going to go back and beat it. Like, I don't have anything against it. Like, I played the opening slice of Bowser Inside Story, and I played the opening slice of this one, and I both think they're like you said, an expertly crafted thing that's not necessarily to my taste. They're both really short. This game is only 10 hours long, and there's not a very long list of 10-hour RPGs. So maybe if I'm looking for something to do and I have like a 2-day weekend to just sit back and want something to feel good, then maybe I'll get around to it. But it's really, really good, and I wish that Alpha Dream hadn't gone under, because we probably won't get any more.
It's really sad to see a studio that had very much like this became their main thing that they did, and then they just kind of crashed. And it's so it sucks to have to be left wondering what they would have done if they'd been allowed, if they hadn't gone under.
Like I could see a Cuphead looking Mario and Luigi for the Switch. Like, I feel that's where they would go, given all the pixels that they could use, and it would probably be amazing. But we'll never know, unless all the people at Alpha Dream spin off and make a new thing, and they make another Mario RPG adjacent game. And Nintendo's like, this is really good. Would you like to make another Mario RPG and just keep the cycle going? Yeah, my conclusion was just, this game is fun, and everything about it is just focused on being fun, and I like that a lot. I think it succeeds the best out of the three flavors of Mario RPG. I think it succeeds the best at making the overworld traversal feel like a Mario game.
Mm-hmm.
I think it does that incredibly well. And I remember that being frustrating as hell in Mario RPG, and it's basically just not a thing up until Super Paper Mario, which was that on purpose. But this with like your different jumps and things like that feel a lot like a Mario game, and I think that's really, really cool. I see there's the problem with this series is by virtue I'm playing the hits, and sometimes the hits are just good, and the things that I can say about why they're good is it was really fun to play for about 4 hours, and I could probably dig in with like better words, but like it's just good, man.
Yeah, no, I think in this case that's really the best way of describing it. It's good, it's fun, it has a fun sense of humor, it has excellent animation and a good soundtrack. Like, It's good.
Yeah, and so Yoko's music for Mario RPG does not sound like Yoko. This game sounds like Yoko. This is all like the shenanigans music from Kingdom Hearts all over this game, and it's fantastic.
I almost forgot. I'm so glad you brought that up. Sorry, that just triggered something I had wanted to talk about, which is also one of my top favorite things about this game. I love that while you're in battle choosing what you want each bro to do, they sit and dance to the music. And like they like jimmy their arms around to it, and it's just like, it's so delightful. It's so fun. It's such a goofy dance too. Like it's really like an old man almost kind of dance. Like, I don't know how to dance, so I'm just gonna bounce from side to side, move my arms.
Yeah, like everything is constantly in motion in this game, which is what I was like talking about in the Game Boy Advance vibe. Is like everything's animated, and it's animated in like adorable, cutesy ways, but not like childish or girly cutesy, but just like stupid. Like it's just everything's moving, and it brings a smile to my face.
It's very Adventure Time.
Yeah, it's very Adventure Time. But yeah, I think that's all I got. If you would like to sponsor a JRPG Canon episode, you can do so on the web at www.rpgbook.club, where for only $20, we'll let you tell us what to play. It should be an RPG, but the definition of RPG and how canon they should be is up to you. But I should at least be able to spin it as an entry in the JRPG canon. Like when we open up just regular commissioned episodes, those will cover any game. And so RPG Book Club has covered SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. In no way could I spin Battle for Bikini Bottom as an entry for the JRPG canon, but say Dark Souls could totally fit. Like it is very far removed from Dragon Quest, but it's also not that far removed from Dragon Quest. So I could get there, but I gotta at least give me a pathway to get there. Besides commissioning an episode, you can also donate monthly to join one of 3 tiers. The Gadabout tier is everyone who pays $1 or more a month. This gets you access to our Book Club no Kaseki episodes a month before everyone else and lets you vote on our polls whenever they go live. The Warrior tier is for everyone who pays $5 or more a month and also gets their name shouted out at the end of every episode. So shout out to Peninsula of Power, Floris, Kaldron, Freddie Rodriguez, Aaron524, Vimk, Jfro Prime, and Doho. And then we have the $20 a month tier, which is our Luminary tier. And that's for everyone who loves us so much that they pay us $20 or more a month, and they get a 1-sentence shout out to make me say whatever they want. So shout outs to L Tantavi, who wants you to check out critical-distance.com, which is an aggregator for games criticism and journalism. And also shout outs to William Taylor, who recommends checking out rpgamer.com, a video game review site for people like us by people like us. And then also shout outs to Carr, who joined us live tonight, who is a dentist. And so he's not shouting out his Twitch stream, but rather your own mouth. And he says to brush your teeth twice a day, most importantly, the time right before you go to bed. For the JRPG Canon, I've been Sam Allman.
And I'm Trish.
Go play some games.